Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news tonight out of Mason, Ohio, where more companies have been spotted sneaking around Racer. Now, Dwayne, you may remember a few months ago, somebody supposedly saw pictures of Fred Grubb traversing the Racer area, walking around different places around Racer, up by the old Flight Commander deck. I don't know. I never really bought that was Fred Grubb. I don't know. What were your impressions of those pictures when you first saw it?
Well, it was a grainy picture to start off with. So I remember messaging you and saying, look at all these people going crazy over this picture that's surfaced out there that's floating around. And you immediately told me, you're like, that doesn't even look like Fred Grubb. I said, well,
he always wears a hat. He had no hat on in the picture.
But, immediately the first thing that came to my mind is there's no way that they are going to take the iconic roller coaster outside the Beast, the other one, the more classic coaster at Kings Island, and they're going to do something with it. The true Kings Island people would go crazy. Yeah. They would protest. They would show up with signs. They would never leave that area. They would protest till eternity came, because I'm telling you, the fact that coaster, and again, we rode it a few years ago, and it was so god-awful. It was so hard to ride. It was so rough. And so now people are saying, well, what if they came in and, retracted or did something to it? But I don't think that Kings Island would ever want to do something with it unless it became unrideable. Now, again, to me, it's unrideable now. But first off, the more and more I looked at that picture, I don't think it was Fred Grubb. First of all. So I don't know that RMC has ever even been there. I think maybe if the RMC was going to do something, they might retract some parts of it. They might, because they've done that before with other coasters. But I don't see them doing anything like turning it into an Iron Horse or doing anything with twisting, or I don't see any of that at all. So in that regards, no. Now, if there are other companies coming in here, which you're going to talk more about in just a second, that I can see, because it probably does need something updated, because it's right there on the midway. It's a beautiful coaster that spans that midway, and the midway is kind of that central part of Kings Island, what everybody knows, Coney Island, that whole kind of, Cincinnati deal. And it would be nice to spruce that up a little bit, because the paint job is really bad. It's old. It's starting to look very well worn. And maybe putting something like lights or whatever you're going to be talking about might be the perfect thing for that area.
Well, one of the companies that we heard come through is a company called Blue Haze Entertainment, and they're a lighting and specialty lighting company. And my first initial thought was, well, instead of RMCing Racer and turning into an Iron Horse, why not bring it back to be a prominent force on the midway? And one of the things that I think makes a pretty cool wood coaster, and one of the things that Kings Island lacks overall, is a lighting package for the ride that you think of like Blue Streak at Cedar Point. It's got the chaser lights on the side. Cedar Point over the last few years has put lights on a lot of their coasters, with Raptor getting the lift hill lights and Valraven getting the LED chaser lights on the side. Something like that, whether it be chaser lights or just LED lights, something to bring attention to that ride. And when you think of that midway, I don't know, I always feel like that midway's real dark at night.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
the lighting's a little dated out there. When it's supposed to be like this carnival-like atmosphere, carnivals have bright lights, have LEDs now. So putting that on the side of Racer, I think, would really spruce it up. And I would not, be against them, RMC coming in and putting a little topper track on it as well to smooth out some of those, rough spots. I know other companies have just come in and retracked some of it the last few seasons. I still think it's rough even after that. I think there's a lot more that can be done. And I also know that RMC has kind of said in the past that they were kind of done with the topper track and refurbing old wood coasters by putting topper track on them. But I don't know. If the right price comes along and Cedar Fair says, hey, we want this done, I think RMC would be inclined to say, okay, we'll send out a few guys to put some topper track on it and get this thing running smooth again. Other racers run a lot better. You look at Rebel Yell or whatever they're called, Racer 70, whatever.
76
down at King's Dominion. You look at that racer, that thing runs like ice down there. So it can be done. You just have to put the work into it. And I really hope that Kings Island here is going to make an investment to not, because they just invested in that new smokehouse. Hopefully next year we're going to see an investment in Racer to get it back up to prominence, to make it look really nice, to make it really a showpiece of the park. Whereas other things like Diamondback and Mystic Timbers and Beast and even Banshee to some extent have kind of taken over the park as the icons. Like you said, Racer has a lot of history. There's a lot of people that love that ride, that was their first ride, that was their first big ride. So hopefully Kings Island can find a way to make it look as nice as some people, think, remember it as being.
Well, and when you take a look at the Midway for Kings Island, that used to be the place where everybody went. And now it's like, what's the real reason of going there? Because you've got Racer, you've got Vortex on the other end, you've got my favorite ride in the world, Windseeker.
Which also has a nice lighting package.
Right, it does.
And Racer would flow nicely into that.
Okay, so that's the rides on the Midway. And and if you want to count the Italian Job or whatever the heck it is now, whatever. But that doesn't. But then you've got. I remember back when Flight of Fear came out, and that was added to the Midway because that's where everybody went. So we wanted to centrally focus our attention right there. And then you added Firehawk in there when they brought that ride in. So that's where it was. And then all of a sudden they just stopped putting any effort into the Midway, and now what used to be the iconic part of Kings Island has gone by the wayside. And now people flock, with the exception of Banshee, they fly over to the eastern side of the park now, where you've got Mystic Timbers right across the street from Diamondback, which then runs right into the Beast. And then you've got the world famous kids area. So everybody is over on that side. And it's like we've neglected everything on the left. Now, Banshee helped that out, but Banshee is going back towards the Bat. So with that, it used to be the fact that no one would ever go ride the Bat because it was too far away from everything else. I mean, you had to walk 15 miles to get there, and there was nothing in between. So at least now that helped the ridership of the Bat out, because now you can at least get Banshee and Bat in the same place. But when you think about it, how many people, when we're there, do you actually see on the Midway? It's not as nearly, even when it's packed, people aren't walking up and down the Midway. They're not playing the games. They're not going to Flight of Fear. They're not going to wait in line at the Firehawk. And they're definitely not going to go ride Vortex. So, and then you can't ride Windseeker because it's never open. So what's the point of going back there? Well, I mean, it's just, And
I hope that the Racer thing, obviously I'm not saying that this is the only thing Kings Island is going to do, next year, but I hope we get some more flat rides back there that, I think that's one of the things that Kings Island really needs to focus on is adding more attractions that are a little bit smaller, adding some flat rides. We've seen them do this in other Cedar Fair parks like Carowinds with that flat ride package. Add some stuff to that Midway too. Make people want to go over there. And especially at night, to put on all these things that have lights and to really shine, it would make that area feel special and feel different from the rest of the park. Whereas the rest of the park, like Mystic Timbers and Beast, you kind of want that area to be a little darker to create that ambiance.
Right.
But make that Coney Island Mall, make it big, make it bright, make it feel different. And I think that's what they have to do. Add some flat rides, redo the whole Midway, put some lights on it, maybe make it a little bit more like the Gemini Midway when they added Pipe Scream. Make it feel different. And I think that would go a long way to really improving the ambiance of Kings Island. Something that they've been trying to do real hard lately is to improve, all the things that, Paramount, the stuff that they did. They worried about rides and they didn't worry about ambiance. They didn't worry about, the way things look. You can just see that in the coaster stations that they made with all the metal. They need to focus on making it look like a great place again. And the Coney Island Mall, that's the place to do it with the lights, I think. And hopefully we're going to see an update of Racer and hopefully some flat ride packages as well. Is what I'm hoping for. So we'll keep you updated here on everything that we hear about what's going down at Kings Island. As always, stick with us here at COASTER-net Update. I'm, of course, Andrea Barchak from Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm Dwayne Sponsteller from the mountains of West Virginia, where it's extremely, extremely hot.
Oh,
We hope
too.
you. It's brutal right now. It's
I'm
absolutely
inside
brutal.
recording this.
Yeah, exactly. So,
hate to be in a parking.
Yeah, so as always, hope the queue lines are in your favor.
Right on, Red Warriors.